Okay, with a thumbnail and a title like that, everybody's gotta be like, well, this guy is cybernetic, so there's no way he would survive in an actual isekai. And yes, I would actually agree with you. When it comes to the universe, whatever, whole franchise of Cyberpunk, really what makes them kind of like OP, and at least in our type of standards, is they have a lot of like cybernetic abilities, and that's what's really cool. But to make this video a lot longer and more interesting, let's talk about if we translated um, David Martinez before he dies, right? Before he goes into that mech suit, which, yes, I know, major spoilers. I probably should put something ahead of the video of if you haven't watched the anime yet, because the anime is kind of new still. But anyways, how would his abilities translate into an isekai? Let's talk about that right now. Okay, so in this series of videos, which I haven't done a lot of them, but for the series of videos that I actually have done, let me explain some of the bullcrap that I usually do. Some of the bullcrap I usually do is I give people certain powers. The first thing I usually give them is like some type of translation ability, because not being able to understand each other is going to be a pain in the butt. But I think I'm going to give him the ability to learn new things very fast, only because of, you got to think about it, in a world full of cyber stuff, you kind of have to know some things that a lot of people nowadays won't know about, like programming and whatnot, or how to read a programming thing in Bobber. But I think with modern, I'm thinking about not modern, but I'm thinking like within the futuristic sense, people know basic programming or basic stuff that a lot of people like us, by us I mean the ones in the 2023, would not know. So I have this in my own light novel that I am writing. No, I'm not trying to. I mean, we live in a world, especially with capitalism now, where everybody's trying to sell something every second. But no, I'm not trying to sell you my book right now. I have a similar power, though, in my book called Eye of Knowledge. So basically, when you use cyber eyes and, well, the game called Cyberpunk, you get basic information on something that you're looking at as long as you scan it. So basically, I think you could use that like similar to my skill in the story that I am creating, Eye of Wisdom. When you focus on something and you activate the power, he can get basic knowledge of it. Now, if he puts more power into it, like in my story, he'll get a lot more information. But I like the idea of just the basic level information. So even though in my story it's a lot different, Eye of Knowledge, or the Eye of Knowledge, or maybe you could say like Eye of Truth or something like that. You could say that if he uses this skill, he can get a basic knowledge of what is going on. Now, also, you could be like, maybe this type of eye scares people too when it's activated or something like that, because in the cyberpunk world, you can make people, as things go off, you can make people reboot, catch on fire, or stuff like that. But for what I'm going to do is, he just gets basic information from the Eye of Knowledge. On his wiki, it talks about the Sandevistan, which is in his spine, but we're going to talk about that at the end, because that's one of the most weird powers that I'm going to have to try to make it equal to like a fantasy isekai thing. But he has a character named Main's Cyber Arms, which basically, I'm just going to translate that power to like super strength, because it makes him really strong and bulky, but it makes him really strong. So, one punch from me or you could be like a normal punch in the cyberpunk world, but his type of punch would be like 7, 8 people behind that punch, depending on how strong you do it. Of course, it scales, but having Main cyber arms gives you a big punch. And especially since Main and I think David in the show, they keep like a shotgun or something in that arm, so boom, big blast. He has jump boosting cyber legs, so I'm going to give him like a special power, something like along the lines of like super jump, where he jumps higher than the normal person. Of course, you have to activate the skill to use it, but if someone like in this fantasy world can jump 5 feet, he could do 25 feet or something like that. And then he also has a ballistic torso, which, I mean, I guess I can just say super strength in this sense, because, like, a ballistic torso, basically in the show, I think he got shot by, like, 9mm or 10mm or something like that, and it just bounced right off. Basically, I'm just going to give him a higher defense starting out, or maybe I can give him a skill that says something along the lines of, this user has far surpassing defense than normal people, or something like that. I'll probably word it a lot differently in my explanation on the screen, but yeah. He also has muscle enhancement, so I'm just going to add that with like the super strength ability with it. But now we're going to talk about his San Devistan. Basically, the best way to explain it is he has super speed, or I'm going to let the wiki say it. When he uses San Devistan, his body gains great speed, making everything slower for him. So it happens in the show where when he slows down time, it's like normal for him, but then once he's done with the action that he's doing, it plays out in real time. And there was this one time when, like, I don't know, I think it was like 20 seconds, but then they translated that to 2 seconds on screen, or maybe even less. So this one's going to be hard to categorize for him on, like, what type of special abilities he's getting. He has some sort of version of hypercognition, but because of that, he also is super fast, so I'm going to give him, like, 2 abilities. Hypercognition and super speed. Because it's kind of hard to, like, combine them together. But because he can process information really fast when he's in this form, he can also use it in a combination with his other ability, super speed, so that San Devistan has relatively the same effect. Now, here's another spoiler for the series, but I kind of want to add something to this, my own special series of, like, another characters in Isekai. I think I want to start adding debuffs. So if you look at the character of David, one major debuff he has is if people have plans for him, he has to somehow do it in a way. So that's one of the beautiful things about the show, but this is not a review. But a lot of things that people set out for this character to do, he does it in a way. So that's one of the major flaws, I would have to say, when it comes to this character, and why he probably wouldn't have an easier time surviving an isekai. If someone says, oh, you'll be strong enough to defeat a dragon, eventually he'll be strong enough to defeat the dragon. Oh, I haven't done one of these in a while, so yeah, of course I talk about cons. Yes, I've been talking about cons this entire time. Another con that I would have to say is he's too much of a friendly person. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like, he takes chances on people, to, like, prove themselves useful. But I feel like he can just be too friendly with people. Maybe, we haven't seen it, maybe he's just, like, not friendly with people outside of his crew. But from what I'm getting is he's kind of too friendly. So I think that's one of his biggest crutches, is that he's too friendly. So far his 2 biggest crutches are that he is friendly, and I guess you can kind of say the same thing when people place goals upon you and you do them. That kind of makes you too nice. But I mean, yeah, that's the other con about him, is that, he will do things people tell him to do in a roundabout way even. I already said there was a con, but it can kind of be a pro as well, is that he's kind of a friendly person. So, when he has another crew going on in this world, they'll definitely do good, because this is like kind of a generic isekai that we're talking about. If we're talking about a generic isekai, well, then he'll do really good, because the monsters will be powerful, but he'll be able to defeat them and whatnot, especially if he gets like a crew going around. Another pro I'd have to say is he has exceptional leadership abilities. Like, not in the beginning of the show, but like right before the guy puts on the power armor and makes him, very, let's just say, overpowered even in the world of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. He developed a lot of leadership skills, like how to lead a squad, how to do things and whatnot, how to, like, run a crew. Oh my god, I only did Ori no Seraph characters in this series so far. Well, let's just say, overall, I say 9.5 out of 10. He has a lot of powers. If I am being honest, he probably has a really good chance of survival. As long as he decides not to drug up too much, which would be the equivalent of chrome up too much. cyberpsychosis is a real big killer.